true cause of cancer. A lot of it's genetic, a lot of it's lifestyle, but I believe in I'm an athlete. I know my body. I've never been sick. I've never, hurt myself, pulling a muscle, nothing like that. And the 2 years that were incredibly hard on me mentally and stress-wise, I got diagnosed with cancer. I have always been kind of a shot out of a cannon guy, very, very love life, very go, go, go. I lost all hope.
Yeah.
I lost all hope, and that is the darkest place to be. I was dead, dude.
You know what?
I was dead. I had 3 suicide attempts, had a gun to my head hundreds of nights, ready to blow it. Up until 47 years of age, when I hit my first depression, going through my divorce that I went through, that I'm still going through with the kids, I had never been depressed a day in my life. Losing that marriage, going through a horrible divorce, losing a lot of the business that I'd built for 15, 20 years, losing time with my kids, life being essentially turned upside down at 47 years of age. Mm-hmm. Now that I'm putting God first, he's doing miracles in my life, like real miracles. Real miracles are happening for me, whether it's medical-wise with my cancer, financial-wise, relationships with my girlfriend, relationships with my family. He really speaks to you too when you have a deep relationship with him.
We are here with a legend. How did you get to this point? Tell us a little bit about, you got to feed that beast, baby. You're kind of flipping the script on that. Just talk a little bit about the mindset that you have. Welcome to the JMO Show. We're back.
All right, we are back. This is the JMO Show. I'm back with the one and only Joshua JT Thompson. How are you, sir?
I am well, my friend. It's good to be back.
Well, look, you're on like a magical mystery tour of a whole lot of life going on. You're lifing right now. Life is lifing. We've talked before on a previous show that I did. It was a compelling episode. There was a huge gap of activities and things that you have gone through in between that. You're in town in Chicago. There's a lot going on. What better than to kind of recap where things are at? But here's what's really cool. JT has an unbelievable story in that he's gone from rags to riches. He was a absolute phenomenal top salesperson, got into the construction field, built up a company, was able to exit the company, put himself in a really strong financial situation, and then like so many do, kind of lost his way a little bit, right? I certainly have lost my way and found my way again, so I can relate to that. So we'll get a little bit into some of that as well. And now is dealing with stage 3 and then stage 4 cancer, and has a lot of ideas and a lot of thoughts on that. He's also somebody who is studying, just accepted at Northwestern, congratulations, to become a therapist for mental health, and also on a speaking tour to talk to kids and folks at hospitals that are dealing with cancer that maybe don't have the same viewpoint or strength that you have around that. So this episode might be a little bit polarizing. We might get into some topics. You might not agree with us. I don't know what to tell you. We're going to give you the version of what it is that we see, how we see it, how we call it. You judge it how you call it. Put in the comments if you think we're complete crazies, then let us know that. If you agree with us, give us some information. Perhaps maybe there's some links that you could share that will expand the conversation and help people out. But at the end of the day, if you are somebody that is dealing with mental health, if you are somebody that's on that journey, if you are somebody that is battling cancer or has somebody in the family that is battling cancer, this is likely a great episode for you to tune into and to engage with. So JT, without further ado, give me a little bit of a recap. What's been going on with you for the last year?
Yeah, JMO, thanks for having me, brother. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
It's been a year. Some ways it feels like 2 years. Some ways it feels like a couple days.
Yeah.
But it's good to be back. I had my first experience as a guest on a podcast on this show, and
Different show.
Same
host, baby.
Same host, different show.
Oh.
But yeah, a lot's happened. The cancer spread from my rectum to my liver. We caught it early, so we were able to do a procedure called a microwave ablation, and basically they go in there and they just they heat it, and then leave a marker on it. It was only a couple centimeters But thank God I have through the VA, I have the best medical care out there.
Yeah.
The VA sends me out to what they call community care. So I've had treatment down in cancer at Moffitt. And if you get cancer in Florida, that's where you want to be. Moffitt's a top 10. Recently, I was in the Charlotte area. Now I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. So I'm attached to the Levine Cancer Center with Atrium Health. Just saw a specialist who, Dr. Wexner, Stephen Wexner, he kind of wrote the book on colorectal surgery, has done surgery on a lot of top athletes, a lot of NFL guys. So I'm just so blessed to have that. So while it spread, we're on top of it. And a lot's going on in terms of I've left South Florida, left Naples. I was there for 20 years and went up to the Charlotte area about a year ago when I saw you, and my mother lives there. And I had only been through the Carolinas in passing, and I love the Carolinas, dude.
Oh my gosh. Like that's the ultimate spot. They have
2 hours from the mountains.
They have
2 hours
3.5
beach.
seasons, right? Because the winters don't get too bad, but man, what a beautiful spot. I'm surprised that more people aren't flocking to South Carolina and North Carolina. I've got quite a bit of family that is down there. I mean, Charlotte is growing crazy. But what great states. They've got it right down there. They've got it figured out.
New Yorkers and Jersey leaving.
Well, I was born
Illinois.
in Jersey. I'm not so sure that's good. I know my people. They're a little intense.
But people that are paying, $18,000 for what I paid for a home up here in taxes, less than $2,000 down there. Politics,
my oldest
all that
sister is
stuff.
in South Carolina. Big kind of farm down there. Retired, beautiful home, and like they got it made. Ton of land, low property taxes. The roads are beautiful. The weather's awesome. What a great place.
Yeah, I was in Charlotte for about a year, and Charlotte's North Carolina, but it's right. Actually, my
it's right on the
address
border.
was South Carolina.
Yeah.
I was in a little town called Waxhaw, so it was right outside of Charlotte. But I met a young lady. I've fallen in love, and she's from South Bend originally.
Okay,
but she went to nursing school at Clemson, and she's been down in South Carolina for the last 20-some years, and she's a pediatric intensive care unit nurse. So I had never been over to Greenville. There's Greenville, North Carolina, and Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Greenville, South Carolina is awesome. We actually went and watched the Illinois and Duke play in March Madness. Greenville hosts they'll have a lot of regionals for March Madness. They have an amazing downtown, so they can host a lot of folks coming in. It's like a 2-mile strip of restaurants, hotels. It's beautiful because there's, you're kind of at the foothills you're just an hour south of Asheville. So you're kind of in the valley and the foothills of the mountains.
Asheville's
so
awesome, too.
you got streams coming right through downtown Greenville. So it's beautiful. So just staying on top of the cancer, and I've got a big surgery scheduled in D.C. where I'll be in the hospital for a week, and then they want me to stay there for another week. So looking forward to that, and then hoping to start school at some point at Northwestern and get licensed to be a professional mental health counselor. I think we talked about last time, I was one of those guys, like a lot of guys, I never believed in mental health. I was always, get your shit together. If you're depressed, you probably aren't taking care of business.
And by the way, there is a little bit of that.
There is a little bit of that.
But, so let's face
but
it.
True clinical depression
it's intense. And by the way, like, I don't care how strong you are. I feel like I'm a pretty strong person. Like I have a very tough head. But it got intense to the point where I couldn't control my thoughts. Like, I would try to think positive, but when you got 12 thoughts in your head that are beating down the positive thought, like at that point, you can't do it. And then when you're throwing substance abuse on top of that, it just blurs everything. I actually had a conversation with
alcohol's a depressant.
Oh, yeah. I had a conversation with a previous guest, and he kind of called me out, and I appreciate it for him. He's like, you did a post on LinkedIn that said that you got sober, and all of a sudden your life got better. And he's like, I've taken 3 months off from drinking. My life didn't get any better. And I was like, well, let me clarify. Getting sober didn't make my life better. It cleared things up so that I could allow the power of the Holy Spirit in so that I could journal, so that I could work on myself, so that I could forgive myself, so that I could live a cleaner lifestyle and get myself around the right people instead of people that might draw me into that type of action. And so, like, it's a culmination of all of those things. But until you get that part done, it's really hard to get the clarity that you need to stop all the intense thoughts. But when you have clinical depression, I don't know how to explain. How would you explain it? Like, I don't know how to, I know how to put the words on it, but I'm curious. Well, how would you explain the intense feelings that you get?
Well, you're spot on when you said that you consider yourself kind of a mental warrior. I'm the same.
Yeah.
Always been able to handle whatever life throws me, and had been through a lot of stuff. You know, I was in the military as a young man, built a business, got into sales.
Well, let's touch on that for a second, because we need to add some texture to this. So last time we talked, we don't want to assume that people know the story. You were in the Navy, and you were rapidly growing in the Navy. A very high-ranking officer essentially put hands on you in an inappropriate way, and it kind of threw you for a loop. And then rather than really dealing with that the way that, maybe the course of action would be now, they would talk about, you did what most men would have done. You just tucked it.
And he was a retired admiral. And this was the summer of 96. I was down at a naval air station, and, I'm 18, 19 years old. And he had befriended me in the gym. And now I know in hindsight he'd stalked me, approached me about doing some boxing lessons because he was a naval boxing coach. And during the lessons, during cool down periods, it got weird, and it got weirder and weirder. And then I finally went and said something to the military police on base, and I did, but I wasn't going to, John.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to for a while because, like you said, I'm a strong young guy. Back then, I was afraid they'd throw me out.
100%.
I just gotten out of boot camp. I just gotten my orders. Wanted to go to Buds and become a Navy SEAL. So I didn't want anything, an admiral saying, this kid's nuts.
Yeah, don't ask, don't tell meant something very different.
Don't tell them.
It was meant something very different now.
The Clinton era.
That now it's kind of like has a different meaning. But back then it was like we hide these things.
Correct.
We're protecting the hierarchy.
Yeah, and the military has done such a great job in the 25 years since I was in on addressing these now. If I did say something then, but they basically swept it under the rug then. They said, do you want us to throw him off the base? Or we're going to throw him off the base regardless. He was there for the 96 Olympics in Atlanta then. He was coming through and stopping at the base, spending some time with his wife. So I was like, no, just ask him to leave. If that would happen now, they would have had me in all kinds of classes to talk about that.
Yep.
But I didn't, and they just made it go away, and I did. I kept that in.
Yeah.
And,
so they sweep it under the rug.
I
still have shrapnel.
Still, yeah. I remember that incident, every detail of it, because it was several incidents, more than all the other memories I made with the guys and stuff like that. So it was in there. Deep.
Yeah.
And it took me opening up to a therapist, and it took hundreds of hours of getting it all out and talking it all out, staring at the ground. A little bit would come out.
What's that
one session.
shame and anxiety feel like? And remember, I'm asking you from a place of a position who knows what it feels like, but some of our viewers might, and they might not. Excuse me, and they might have somebody in their family that they just can't figure out, like, what is up with this person, and that person has some sort of deep shame that they're dealing with. So describe a little bit, like, in those moments when you're by yourself, because it's almost always when you're by yourself. It's the word, the moments of shame.
You did something to bring it on, for one. And for two, you feel like, well, I'm a dude, and I'm a pretty strong guy. I was young buck, 19. I could have had him stop, but he's in a position of power. People do that in positions of power, and he was looking for somebody fresh out of boot camp. Matter of fact, the one of my friends that I worked out with at the gym, I remember when he invited me to come do some boxing classes, he said, why do you think he didn't invite me? And I thought to me it was just because, I showed potential, but it was because he wanted to get me alone. He didn't want to have somebody else there.
He didn't want to have a whole class.
And he had been doing, he was probably a predator who had been doing that for a long time. So yeah, you do have that shame and the guilt. And, I never thought that could happen to a guy, that could, sexual assault can only happen to females, but it happens to men more than, and in therapy, talking about it, I realized how deep that was, how, when I'd watch documentaries on, say, Kevin Spacey and the stuff that he did, I couldn't watch stuff like that until I started kind of talking it out, because it was buried in there, and I probably had a lot of anger and resentment on it. So.
Yeah, I'm certain that's the case. So this kind of sent you on a really interesting course, because what tends to happen in a situation like that is being, as we've mentioned, a tougher man and mental and a guy's guy and this and that. You tuck that and you just kind of get on with life, right? So you get on with life. You get into like the sales game. You discover, holy cow, I'm really freaking good at this. And then you get into business for yourself as a contractor, and that just absolutely takes off like really fast. But meanwhile, you've got all these things lingering underneath, and you're starting to drink heavily. You're starting to do all these different things that you've conquered now. But talk a little bit about that story and kind of what would set you off and what would happen in those cases.
Sure. Yeah, coming out of the military, I was going to stay in, and they were going to send me. I got my undergraduate while I was in at Indiana University, and then I was going to go to law school and be a Navy JAG officer, be an attorney for the Navy, and just decided to get out in 2000, right before 9/11. So I got out, started working for Edward Jones Investments. They put you in an office in a community, and you basically go knock on doors. And that's how I learned how to sell, was to put a suit on and knock on doors all around Indianapolis suburbs. With
companies need to start people out in that type of sales, because that's the best sales
cold
training.
Calling right now. If you go out and cold call the right way, you're a savage. You can dominate.
Kill it. Because people are almost shocked when you knock on their door now. Well, like when you walk in their door and you present to them, they're almost shocked, especially if you have something clever like to get in the door, because they're so used to the AI cadences and the blast emails that, 3 every other week that come out and all this stuff, that it's almost shocking to them when they see somebody come in. But back in those days, that was just how it was. You knocked on doors. You were a road warrior. You went and built your network. You went to networking events. You dropped off more donuts than Dunkin' Donuts could make. I mean, every sales guy was dropping off donuts and coffee. I'm surprised that more receptionists and people in offices don't have diabetes from the amount of donuts that were being dropped off.
That's so true. Yeah, just working the breakfast scene and the lunch scene and taking people to dinner and having putting on seminars. But built a good business and got headhunted by Merrill Lynch and some of the bigger firms, and I went over to Smith Barney. Didn't want to leave Jones. I love Jones. It was a great firm. They sent their brokers that qualified on 2 world-class trips every year, and just a good firm. I could run my own business. It was my own office, but the business was changing then, and Edward Jones was a little slow with, it was all moving to managed money.
Yeah.
It was all transactional when I started. You buy and sell, and that's how you make, commissions off of buying and selling stocks or bonds or mutual funds. And around the 2000s, when the banks started buying up all the brokerages, banks don't like inconsistent earnings. So to make them consistent, they said, well, let's put a wrap fee on assets, and you'll just pay a percentage of those assets under management. Jones was slow to getting into that, and I was losing accounts to Merrill.
Got it.
Morgan Stanley.
They weren't diversifying
so I took an offer from one of the wirehouses and went over to Smith Barney at the time. It was Citigroup's brokerage. And now I think Smith Barney is part of the Morgan Stanley. So I did that for a couple years. That took me down from the Midwest, spending 28 years here in the Midwest, to Boca on the southeast side of Florida. So I worked in Boca, lived in Fort Lauderdale, and
sounds terrible.
Loved it. Yeah, I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
I'm in my late 20s. I'm single. Business was great. But I always wanted, when you work for a financial services firm, it's your own book of business and you can run it like your business, but you're not a 1099. You're, those are the firm's clients.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to own my own business. So I started a little side hustle, just a little small maintenance company. My younger brother played football at Illinois State in the late 90s, 96 to 2000. So I got down to Boca in 2003. He was still on campus, kind of just doing whatever. I said, come down here and we'll start a little company. And because of that sales background, I started calling on property managers of big shopping centers down there, a lot of Publix anchored shopping centers, and started out with little porter contracts. And they said, can you do this? Can you do that? And it led to full on construction, doing a lot of build outs for tenant spaces, from like 1,000 to 5,000 square feet. And it blew up and business was good. Had 50 employees. Business was great. I met a young lady, got married in 2013, and life just kind of started happening. We had kids right away. Business was stressful. The marriage was stressful. And I started drinking more and more. A lot of it was the marriage.
All this good stuff, though, but still lingering. Is all that stuff that was never addressed.
Never addressed it. I never.
And then
therapy.
It's like compounding interest.
Yep.
Compounds.
I should have gotten therapy in hindsight a lot earlier than I did. It took me, losing that marriage, going through a horrible divorce, losing a lot of the business that I'd built for 15, 20 years, losing time with my kids, life being essentially turned upside down at 47 years of age, and hitting lows that I never thought were humanly possible for me after I had achieved the success that I had achieved. After the divorce, I'm essentially living with my parents, homeless part of the time, living out of a car, drinking like a madman, not knowing what depression is. And I was in full depression then. And to get the voices out of my head, like you said earlier, you kind of just man up. And I would not wish the depressions that I went through, and I went through 3 of them
on your
over
worst
a 3-year
enemy.
period. I wouldn't wish my worst enemy, John. I would rather go through the stuff I've gone through with stage 4 cancer than have one more depression.
Dude,
like
the
that.
stuff that I was saying to myself is appalling. Like, I couldn't imagine. Like, somebody could be holding my family at knife point. I can't imagine saying things to them that I was saying to myself by the hour. Yeah. Like,
by the hour, it doesn't go away. From the time I woke up until the time I went to, that's why I drank.
By the way, I could have been on the golf course, like playing golf, like having a good time.
Nothing was fun anymore. Nothing was fun. Nothing was fun. All the hope. I have always been kind of a shot out of a cannon guy. Very, very love life. Very go. I lost all hope. Yeah. I lost all hope. And that is the darkest place to be.
You know what else?
And then I was drinking to just fall asleep.
Yeah.
To just stop the voices. Yep. Stop the. I had.
Can you describe the voices? Because when we say voices, like we're not talking about schizophrenia. That's a whole different. That's a different level. And that's a whole nother podcast to talk about that. But there's a voice. I guess it would be your subconscious or like for instance, what is thinking in my head and talking right now? Like my physical presence is talking, but like what's the thing inside? And what is the voice that is talking when you're silent? That's the one.
That's the one.
Okay, so describe that.
So for me, JMO, it was the devil talking to me. I had let the devil get a strong hold.
It feels like there's a demon inside you, doesn't it?
Yes, it feels like there's a demon inside. You were a fraud all along. You never should attain the success you did. You're never going to be happy again. You're never going to make it. You lost everything, you idiot. At 47 years old, you lost everything that you worked so hard to get. The country club lifestyle, the 6-figure cars, the big bank account, the gorgeous family, everything on paper that I had, all the swag I had, lost all that to where I have nothing. I'd lost everything. And then the hopelessness gets in, and that's the enemy. That's the devil. And I grew up in a Christian household, but I've never been a Christian man. And that's what changed everything for me is over the last few years, I would listen to my dad, who's the strongest man in my life, and say, Josh, you got to give it all to God. For one, you got to forgive yourself, because I couldn't forgive myself for losing all my stuff, and losing, my kids, and losing everything I lost. So that I worked so hard to build for 25 years. And I finally was like, you know what? Jesus died on a cross. God sent his only son here, and he paid the ultimate price and died the most horrible death. And he forgives me. I got to forgive myself. So I would dabble in getting saved. And that, like you said earlier, that gave me the strength to put down the bottle. It was God. It was my faith that gave me the strength to put down the bottle, to start working out again, start exercising, start taking care of myself. And then the voices were going away. And I was getting the whispers from God. You can do all this again. You can do all that. But it would be short-lived. I would start feeling better. I looked great. I would go into an inpatient therapy or an outpatient, get sober, get help, find Christ, start going to church. And within 1, 2, 3 months, because there was 3 different times I did this, I started going back to my own ways. I can go have some whiskeys with the boys. I can do this. I'm starting to make some money
That voice
again.
sneaks back in, doesn't it?
I can do it JT's way. I know not, I won't do that again.
That's that human pride, that human arrogance. And so to your point, like it's not getting sober necessarily that corrects it. It's allowing the light in, and then staying with that, the discipline of staying with it, and like digging deep enough to create the depth of knowledge and understanding and continue to do it. And you have to do it repetitiously, because just because you got the demon or the devil out, he doesn't give up.
No, he wants to come back.
He keeps coming back. And if you don't keep putting more knowledge, more faith, more hope, more discipline, if you don't keep putting more of that in, he finds a crack. They'll find a crack. That demon will come back in. And then you almost have to start over.
Yeah. Well, Scripture says, JMO, that when he comes back with 7 demons. And each time that I relapsed and went back into depression, because I had 3, 6, 7 month long depressions over a 4-year period, the lows got lower. And I would be back, and I'm like, how did you get here again? So it wasn't until I really gave everything to God. And I have a personal daily relationship with Jesus Christ. Now, I put God before everything in my life. I have a relationship for the first time. I put God first in it. I have a girl who we pray together. Everything is about our faith together. We haven't even been intimate. That was so foreign to me, to be in a relationship and not to be intimate right away. But we said to ourselves, we're not going to do that until we get married. And we haven't.
That's awesome.
And we've been together 6 months, and we've spent, we live together and travel together. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But that's how focused I am right now on my relationship with Jesus Christ. And now that I've went all in, and I'm not perfect, I'll never be perfect, but it's really leading as sinless life as possible, and trying to really forgive my enemies, especially on, my children who I'm going through a bed custody battle. I really try to forgive them and love them, because they're my biggest enemies right now. Now that I'm putting God first, he's doing miracles in my life, like real miracles. Real miracles are happening for me, whether it's medical-wise, with my cancer, financial-wise, relationships with my girlfriend, relationships with my family, what's happening with my children now coming back into my lives. True miracles. Like, you always can hear the whispers of God if you listen, but he really speaks to you too. When you have a deep relationship with him. So, that to me, everything is God first, and like when I say God, a personal daily relationship with Jesus Christ. That's talking to him like I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
when I'm upset about things, when I'm, on my knees, thanking him, thanking him for pulling me out of the depths of hell that I was in. I feel like he resurrected me like Lazarus. I was dead, dude.
You know what?
I was dead. I had 3 suicide attempts. Had a gun to my head hundreds of nights, ready to blow it. And you know the only reason I didn't? I couldn't feel God then, because They say the spirits to fight those demons are in heavenly places. So you have to go to heavenly places. And I wasn't. I was down in the depths of hell. The enemy had a stronghold. He had a foothold in, telling me how bad I am. I was believing it. It was, I couldn't imagine somebody who takes their life going to hell if there is a hell, like the Bible says. But I wasn't going to take a chance.
Yeah.
And it was the fear of that, because I would pray on that and I would think about that all day, because I was so checked out. I was okay with the horrible legacy I was going to leave to my kids. I figured they have good family around.
You almost
If
feel
they go
like you're
through-
doing them a favor.
Yeah, I'm doing them a favor.
And then you get a moment of clarity and you're like,
Yes.
whoa, no, I'm not. And
I
you
was
see
okay
a
with
picture
the
of what their
horror-
life will be.
Totally. I was okay with I had come to terms with the horrible legacy, the destruction I was going to do to my parents and my siblings and the people who loved me. But the depression was that dark, that bad. When you're in it and you can't get out of it, you know, if you just go exercise, but you can't. You can't. For me, each time out of it was Jesus Christ giving me the strength to do what I had to do. But it's so easy to go back down that rabbit hole again. For me, when I get away from my faith.
Yeah.
My faith now is everything.
It's
everything.
That relationship is your discipline. It keeps you disciplined. It's a hard life, man. There's so many distractions. There's so much noise. There's so many things coming at you. There's so many viewpoints. There's so many lies in the world. There's so much deception. It's really difficult to stay blocked from those things, which is why it's so important to stay highly focused on that power, because it kind of, if you put all of your focus into that, it blocks all the noise around you that's trying to get in. So that's been the power of it. I'm really curious, like, you know, all along, all this is happening. You're going through these depressive stages, and there's still good that is happening. So, like, how is that ebb and like what a mind F that is, that the ebb and flows? Because I'll give an example here, and you correct me if I'm wrong. You come out of one of the depressive things, you get yourself right, and then you go to the doctor and find out you have cancer. So, like, how do you keep the faith then?
Well, and that's a great question. Every time I came out of the 3 depressions I was in, and the most recent one I came out of was last year, and that's when I really turned my whole life over to God, 100%.
Was that before or after we had our recording?
That was after. So when
you
we had our
disappeared-
recording,
you
I
dis-
had come out of another one, and then I disappeared again.
You disappeared.
Yep.
You disappeared because I was like, dude, are you going to share this
I
content?
went to
Or
the
like,
dark
you-
place
like
again.
You
And when I would
disappeared?
do that, it's in a room at my parents' house, one of my parents, where I'm hiding the drinking. I'm going and getting bottles, and I'm not drinking for any kind of fun. It is just to take my mind off it, to pass out.
Yeah.
To pass out, so I stopped thinking about killing myself. So I stopped thinking about planning it out in any way. I'm that down. And I've never, up until 47 years of age, when I hit my first depression, going through my divorce that I went through, that I'm still going through with the kids, I had never been depressed a day in my life. I'd had bad days, but I'd never had a suicidal thought, anything. Yeah. It wasn't until I hit full-on depression, and I fed the monster. I fed the fire with booze. Because booze is, and I call it a drug, it's the worst drug out there, because it will stimulate you for a minute and it'll take your mind off of something, so you could at least just watch a movie. Because you know when you're depressed, you can't even watch a movie.
Well, it
you can't
also
do
opens
anything.
up the door to all the other things.
Correct.
Because your decision making just becomes completely blurred. So you're like, oh, what the hell? Why not this?
Yeah.
I'm curious. Does this behind me bother you?
No, not at all.
And you know what? Somebody asked me that. Like, what are you, crazy? What are you doing? I'm 2.5 years. It doesn't bother me because I'm so into what I'm into right now. This is decoration. And by the way, I'm not one of those people where there are people, I have no problem with people drinking. There are people who can do that and wake up the next morning and be fine and maybe not have another drink for a week until the next time they go out and do something socially, or can have 2 and whatever. I was never one of those people because I wasn't doing it for the social. At some point, it had crossed from I was doing it socially to I'm just pounding pain down. I'm just going to numb out this pain. And then I was doing it so that I could make worse decisions.
Correct.
It was like, you know what, if I get really drunk, then I can actually make the worst decision. And it's almost kind of justified because then I can blame it on the fact, well, I was kind of drunk. Like that kind of thing starts to play. It is a vicious cycle.
It is so vicious. And I've never been happier being sober. I always thought that, oh man, if I can't drink, when I'm out watching a ball game with the guys or at a ball game or just at the bar,
they're not going to want to invite
some beers.
me.
I'm not going to want to have fun.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have fun either.
Yeah.
But dude, I do all that stuff sober. And I do all the stuff that when I drank, I do all the same stuff.
You know what's crazy?
I hang out with
JT?
I hang out with different guys.
That's what I was just going to say. You know what's crazy is like I battle with this thing of like, do people like, what do people think of me? Like, do people like me? Because like the people that I used to seem to associate with, whether it was through the neighborhood or through sporting events or, just social get-togethers, kind of just have disappeared. Just like they forgot me. Like nobody checked in. Nobody's like, hey, how you doing? Like it just kind of disappeared. And you kind of go like, well, what the hell was that? Well, maybe that's because they enjoyed that guy that I hated. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. Or maybe they feel like they're protecting me by not inviting me to or playing having me.
In my
I don't
case,
know what it is.
It's a little bit of both for sure.
It's probably a little bit of both.
That's very interesting that you say that because I know, I'll speak of myself in third person, the wild JT, the get after it JT. I'm a guy, I think a lot like you. When I go all in on something, I go all in. When I'm laser focused on starting a business or wanting to get a girl, if I see something I want, I'm gonna get it.
Or partying, or whatever.
I'm gonna get it.
I'm all in on anything.
I'm not the guy who goes out and can do a couple bumps and then go back to the bar and be like, I'm fine. I'm that guy who's in that bag until 7 a.m. the next morning. And I'm like, what did I do? I'm such a piece, and then the anxiety sets in. And, I was never a big drug guy, but when I was younger and do blow, stuff like that, if I'm going to do it, I'm going all out.
Yeah.
And I think that's with the booze. I think I could drink now and drink responsibly. I did drink responsibly for many years, but I can't. I can't because I went to the dark side at one point.
Well, not only that, but you've already learned your lesson. That every time you open that door,
exactly,
there's 12 demons that are sitting there going, "He did it. He drank. Let's 100%. Go. Come on, man. Let's go. We're ready."
And it's been so great being sober. I do occasionally I'll have a beer, but dude, I don't even finish it. I'll sip on a beer for 3 hours and not even know it's there.
Yeah, I don't even care about it.
I have zero desire for and I was a whiskey.
By the way, you could get the Michelob 0.0. It's the same freaking taste, and there's no alcohol in it. But
so much
you're
more
also
fun.
opening up the door.
I have so much more fun at concerts, at ball games, out on the golf course.
And your friendships for me, now actually really know you.
Golfing for me, I got into golf late in life when I went up to Ivanhoe. Joined Ivanhoe when I was up there 4 or 5 years ago. When I came back to Chicago after being in Naples, Florida for 20 years. And the golf course for me was drinking. That's all it was. That first year I learned how to play golf, it was drinking.
Just a social
all
event.
day, and it was during COVID. So we were, everybody's just a bunch of sales guys or business owners. Yeah. We're just drinking. Now I golf and I don't drink, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, you could see the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
You hit the one in the middle, right? It used to be 3 or 4 balls. Now there's just one. It's a lot easier to hit it. You know what's interesting though is like the people the reason I brought up what I brought up is the people that I'm now associating with actually really know me. I hate to say this, but the people that knew me for like a 15-year period, they didn't know me. They knew a guy that was hiding from a whole mess of stuff. They knew a guy with a ton of regret and shame, but was masking all of that. They knew the guy who was super funny at a party, that would do the wild thing, that would make the crazy statement, they knew that kind of a guy. They knew the guy that just would talk like crazy and just go off and so on. And now the people that I associate with, mainly having to do centered around what my passion projects are and out at the golf course, they actually know me for who I really am because all the blockage is gone. Are you feeling the same thing? And that's maybe why the relationship with your new girlfriend is going so well. Like, are you feeling like people are going, wait a minute, who is this guy? I really like this guy.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't overtalk people. I was that guy getting after it, drinking too much, talking too much, doing the goofy stuff, had everybody rolling And JT's have he's the JT's coming out. Let's have fun. I've got some ride or die friends, especially from so most of my really good friends were guys that played football with my brother at Illinois State or went to college with him there. Because when I went to college, I was married and had a kid, and I was in the Navy full time.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it the
You didn't
traditional
really
route.
enjoy it.
So I lived vicariously through Ben. And, he's a football player, and 90% of the team was Chicago suburb guys down there at Illinois State in the late 90s. So, I've had a lot of guys that have just fallen off the map, and I probably burnt bridges. I know I did with some of them, and shame on me. And I think some of them, like you said, for sure, they know the new part of me is centered in Christ. But I've also had 2 ride or die friends that have been with me that always checked in when I went dark for 5 months.
Yeah.
And I'm in my parents' room, just not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
In that horrible place, calling all the time. JT, you got a brother. I love you.
Yep.
One of them's a guy who's a Chicago boy who's a full-bird colonel in the Army. He was tight end for my brother's teams there at Illinois State. They had some good runs there in the late 90s.
I was there
at Southern.
I was there in 96,
2000.
Yeah.
One guy in particular, Scott Preitzker, who is the best guy in the world. Was All-American there, walk-on from Arlington Heights boy, walked on, but ended up getting a full ride scholarship. Just overachiever. First team All-American, first team All-Academic, then went and tried out for the Bears, didn't make it, so he went and got his commission and got his master's at University of Illinois from 2000 to 2003, and now he's a full-bird colonel, probably going to make general. He was one of them still to this day, but I'd rather have one friend like that than 50 acquaintances.
Well, 100%. Because
one friend, ride or die, that I could call at 2 a.m. and say, dude, I need you to come over to my house and I need you to bring a shovel. And all I would hear is him putting his belt on and grabbing the shovel and coming over.
Yeah.
Not asking any questions.
It's interesting because there's just a lot of people that they kind of fall off because the new you just doesn't live in that world anymore. And if they did hang out with you, they might not even recognize, like they would maybe kind of, but they'd be like, whoa, this is a massive change. Like it's a big difference. And guess what? That is kind of invigorating. We all have the opportunity to reinvent ourselves and put ourselves in a position where we have more hope, we have more faith, we have more clarity, we're more determined, we have more grit, we're more disciplined. We all those things are all decisions. When you're battling what you're battling, you do need a little bit of help to get to that point. You need some structure and you need some professional guidance. But man, once you find that, it's so unbelievable.
Well, Scripture says iron sharpens iron. Mm-hmm. And the men that I have in my life right now, a lot of them that I've met from small group at my church, they're just awesome dudes. If I'm going into a surgical procedure, I've got one guy in particular, Mike Marshuk. He's actually from Chicago here and has been down in the Carolinas now for 20 years. He will text me and be like, hey, JT, when is the actual procedure? Because I want to be in prayer during the procedure. Not just the day. Like, what's the time of it? And he doesn't, we just met recently. And, those are guys that I go and I golf with now and I play tennis with and I go watch ball games with and go to concerts with. And they're just good, awesome guys like us.
And they're probably
but
protecting
they're just Christian dudes.
But they're also protecting you from
They're protecting
you from going into that space again.
Correct.
And it's just really powerful that you have that around you.
Correct.
To do that. And you're going through this whole journey all along the way. You've got the power of Christ kind of waiting to come in. You let him in. Good things start happening. You find out that you have cancer. Take us from the first cancer and let's just kind of build on that story of what happened there, because this had to be unbelievably difficult for you. You find a way to get yourself right. You find a way to get the strength. you burned a lot of bridges, but you also did something that I think is really, really powerful. First thing you do, you look up and you ask for forgiveness. Second thing you do is you look in the mirror and you ask for forgiveness. Third thing you do is you reach out to people that you know, love, and trust, and you ask them to forgive you. And if you can't reach them, you still forgive them in your heart. Even if they won't accept the forgiveness, you still forgive. And it like opens up this kind of pathway for you to feel free and some of the shame starts to go away. Then you find out you have cancer again. It's like, whoa, what's happening? And then that had to be unbelievably difficult to keep the faith. So walk us through what happens after that first.
Yeah. So I'm glad you bring this up. So when I first got diagnosed, I was in an inpatient, a 30-day inpatient for substance abuse treatment program with the VA in Bay Pines, which is St. Petersburg, Florida. So St. Pete, Tampa. So in around February of 2024, I'd been in and out of the depressions for a year and a half, and I hit a hard one down at my dad's. He said, we got to get you help. So I went in for the first time to an inpatient 30-day, the SATP program. And then I went from there. That's when I started talking about my PTSD from my sexual trauma. So I stayed another 30 days. So I was there 60 days. I got in the best shape of my life. I mean, I was jacked, doing sprints, just working out all the time, going to classes 7-8 hours a day for therapy, first for substance abuse and then for mental health and PTSD, talking stuff out, like deep therapy.
Which is great, but it also sucks because you have to relive all the stuff. It's like you have to open up the can of worms in order to be able to get rid of the worms. It just sucks, but you have to do it.
It was deep stuff. I was doing cognitive behavioral therapy. I was digging in and doing the work because I feel like that I've been at enough substance abuse and mental health inpatient treatments to where you see people who don't do the work, they'll get sober.
Yeah.
But
they'll be back.
No worse for the wear when they get out. They'll be back. And the people who do the work, they change. Physically, they change in that 30 days. You see a full change, and especially mentally. So it's spring of 2024. I'm coming out of this depression. I feel the best I've ever felt in my life. And I knew I had an issue for the last year with my going habits. And so I finally went and got a colonoscopy. And I was 47 or 8 at the time. And I'm waking up from it because they put you under. And I've never been sick a day in my life. I've never had a broken bone. I've never had stitches. And I played ball. I'm an athlete my whole life, lived rough and tough. So, and I wasn't sick from the cancer. I didn't feel sick, but I just knew something was wrong. So I go in for the colonoscopy. I wake up from being under. It's the first time I had ever been put under on anesthesia. I wake up, I'm like on my side, and I think, typical me, I'm joking around with the GI doc and like, hey, doc, how'd it go up there? Did you see some fun stuff? Just joking around. And he says, it's not good. You have a problem. And I kind of think I'm like dreaming then. I'm like, okay, so what do you mean I have a problem? He's like, you have a mass. So first thing I said was, well, it's not cancer. And he looked me dead in the eye. He said, you have cancer. And I said, how do you know? We haven't done a biopsy. We haven't, sent anything off to pathology. He looked at me. He's like, JT, I've been doing this for 25 years. You have cancer and it's not good. Like it's big. I could barely get the camera around it. So then I'm thinking, okay, all right, this is real. So because I was at where I was at with my faith, it didn't take the air out of me at all. I just immediately said, you know what? I feel great. I got this. What do we do? And it's the hardest 48 hours when you have to go home before you can go do your PET scans where they check, all your lymph nodes. They check your torso, your abdominal.
What's that
everything. Like? You're kind of freaking out because it's like, it has this spread.
Yeah.
He told me it's big, it's advanced. It's like the size of a tennis ball.
By the way, that's, most of the time doctors have a different type of bedside manner, but I would imagine when it's that intense,
matter of fact,
it's
JMO,
like.
I told him, I said, this can't be. I said, I'm in the best shape of my life right now.
Yeah.
I'm 47, doc. I feel like I'm 27. You know what he said to me?
Yeah.
He says, good, you're going to need it. You got a long road ahead of you.
Wow.
So then what they do is they send you off for, as immediate as possible, MRIs, CAT scans, PET scans that check, light you up. They'll put contrast in you. They put an iodine in you, and it lights your body up, and it shows any lymph nodes. So I go do all that stuff, and I got to wait 3 days, and I'm still an inpatient, and I've called my folks, called all my close friends, and it's starting to sink in. I'll go, my dad will be like, I'll be talking to him. I call him Pops. I'm like, Pops, I can't believe this. Come on, no way. And he's like, go watch a movie or something. So I go watch a movie, and midway through it, you hit pause, and you're like, dude, no effing way. Did somebody? I can't have cancer. No way, I have cancer. And then you're freaking out because you're waiting to see. You're like, okay, this thing's probably spread all over. It's probably all over my lungs. Maybe it's up in my brain. I don't know. I get a call 36 hours later, and maybe it was 40, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. And he says, this is the GI doc who found the mass. He said, I got good news and bad news. And I'm like, well, I know the bad news. I have cancer, right? And he's like, yeah, you have stage 3 cancer. I said, well, give me the good news. He says, you have T3 adenocarcinoma, and your cancer cells can either be well differentiated, intermediate differentiated, or poorly. And by the grace of God, and I believe it was by the grace of God, mine were well differentiated, which is good, which means everything had stayed pretty localized. I mean, it had eaten through my rectal wall, the tumor, the mass. It was the size of like a tennis ball. I knew something was wrong for the longest time. I was, dude, for my whole life, I've been
What were the indications that you knew something was wrong?
Because I didn't feel anything. I just, since I'm a kid, since I drank coffee in the Navy, I drink a cup of coffee. I go one time. That's it. Number 2, I go once in the morning, and that's it.
Yeah.
I was going more and more because that tumor was growing.
Oh, so it's
forcing. Less and less was coming out. And they were real thin stools. So I knew something. But this was right during my divorce, like right at the beginning. It was probably growing. And I believe, too, that stress can manifest so much sickness. I have 28 cousins. I have 14 aunts and uncles. There's no cancer in my family. They do genetic testing on it. It all came back negative.
So you think it's all like cortisol?
And I was drinking a lot, but it was the stress that I put my mind through during that divorce, the hopelessness, the depression, that 2 years was tougher on my mind and body than the previous 47 combined times a million.
That's another thing
and then I get sick.
That's another thing I think that's overlooked is when you are that heavily depressed, you ache. Everything hurts.
Yes.
Like you ache so bad.
When you give up on everything, that's when cells can mutate. They say nobody knows the true cause of cancer. A lot of it's genetic, a lot of it's lifestyle. But I believe in I'm an athlete. I know my body. I've never been sick. I've never, hurt myself, pulling a muscle, nothing like that. And the 2 years that were incredibly hard on me mentally and stress-wise, I got diagnosed with cancer. So
it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So they say that, there's some lymph nodes we saw behind your shoulder that we're a little concerned about, but it would be a weird place for cancer to be. So I said, okay, so what do we do? I've got the power of Jesus Christ in me. I'm feeling good. I'm sober. They say, okay, we're going to do 30 rounds of radiation. The cancer community changed from the European way. They do now here in America what's called total neoadjuvant therapy. And that means they want you to do your chemo, they want you to do your radiation, everything before they resect that tumor from your body. It used to be here in America, we did it how they still do it in Europe. You maybe do some radiation, but then they get that tumor out of you, and then you do chemo. And part of me, I think it's because they want the money for the chemo. So a lot of it's they showed the tests have showed that it's better to do all your therapy up front. But my mindset was get that tumor out of me now. Now I know they want to shrink it a little bit and as much as possible, obviously, to not damage stuff. And I did 30 rounds of radiation, and while my body responded well to that treatment and shrunk that tumor, it damaged my rectum too. It's radiation.
So this is the first run.
This is the first run.
You go back into a depressive state.
So I do I get out of therapy right when I get diagnosed 2 weeks later in May. I take a job with a company called Botanical Brewing out of Cape Coral, Florida, and they were coming up with these kava and kana-based drinks. So I was I was taking a sales job, just trying to get back on my feet again, and I was going into the beverage business. I'd never worked in that before. I'd worked in financial services, being a wealth manager, and then I started my company.
If you can sell, you could sell.
Yeah,
though.
then I started my company, doing construction services. Did I know anything about construction? No, but I was a sales guy, good with contracts and find the guys to do it. So I'm feeling great. I know I have the cancer, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take this job with this Botanical Brewing. So they send me out to Vegas right off the bat. And I got to a big trade show out there. I land because of who I am and my personality. I'm working the booths. I have some connections out there. A guy who played for the Raiders who lived out there. He introduces me to somebody. I get an opportunity to talk to somebody at Breakthrough Beverages, one of the higher ups, and we're talking already about doing big deals out there. So then I'm going to move out to Vegas full time. And I haven't even started my radiation, and I'm putting all that off because I want to get this going. And I was going to do the radiation out in Vegas. Long short is I started drinking again. Started drinking again socially. I'm selling
Wait a minute.
I'm selling
You went to Vegas and started drinking again?
Pushing a non-alc, but guess where I'm pushing the product? All the bars.
Yeah.
All the nightclubs. All the hotels.
No offense, JT. That's a bit of an interesting decision for you. I might tell you to maybe a different field.
Dude, JMO, it took from when I took that job, and I didn't start drinking right away. The whole month of May, I didn't drink. Half of June, then I get out and I'm out in Vegas a lot. Really, it was because I met a young lady and I started dating her, and we would have evening cocktails. And I felt awkward if I didn't. And that's why I love now who I'm with. We don't drink, I think you could be with somebody who, your partner or wife who drinks responsibly, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm around people who drink all the time responsibly. I have no problem with seeing liquor there or having it
I think it's to each his own. Like some people, their temptation is so powerful that they really need to surround themselves with people that are going to live a very similar lifestyle and are really going to be respectful of that. And they need to stay away from going to any scene where that might happen.
Like you said.
To other people, it's like, especially when you hit rock bottom, it's like, okay, that was the scariest thing that I think that I could ever see, and I don't ever want to feel that again. And then for me, it was I convinced myself that I was so appalling, so disgusting, so unholy, so devilish, such a liar, so selfish that I have no temptation because I don't want to be any of those things.
Correct.
But to other people, it's a different level of intensity, and maybe they don't come to that
JMO,
level.
I had all of those that you had when I hit rock bottom for the first time in 2022, and it took all that work to come out of it. But I'm that hard-headed and I'm that stubborn, and I think I've got it that figured out where I can socially drink this time and I won't do that.
Yeah. I get it.
And I did it not once, not twice, 3 times I had to do that because I'm so stubborn, and I think I can do it JT's way. It wasn't until I said I'm doing it God's way.
Yep.
And I'm going with my faith. I'm putting Christ at the center of everything I do. My job, my relationships with my kids, my relationship with my beautiful girlfriend, my relationships with my coworkers, new friends, old friends. Christ is at the center and the forefront of all that. That's what's kept me from thinking I can go booze again and I can start, socially drinking.
Great.
But because I'm so hard-headed, which is good in some ways, because when you're laser focused, and if I want something, I want to build a company, I want to be top sales guy, I'm going to go do it.
You just got to change the target.
Totally. But when you think it's for, I can beat alcohol. Some of the smartest dudes I met, and I avoided rehab for so long. I was like, I told my folks, I was 47 going through this divorce. I'm not going to rehab. It's a bunch of losers there. I'm not going to rehab. It's guys off the streets. I went to rehab the first time down in Aurora at a Gateway Center. some of the smartest people I've ever met in there.
Oh, yeah.
There was doctors in there. There was
yeah.
attorneys. There was top, salespeople like me. There was people off the street too.
Yeah.
But they were super witty people, but they all thought they were smart enough to beat their addiction.
Nope. Cannot. Will not. Have not. It ain't happening.
Nope.
Like, so you move the cheese. Right?
The cheese.
You move the cheese, and you essentially have just changed what the desired outcome is, and what the desired lifestyle is, and what's at the center of everything. And you've put Christ at the center of everything, and now it feels like you have a shield around you almost, right?
I do. When I was going through these depressions, I remember, especially the first one, I was like, man, I just want to find that guy who I was 15 years ago, before I met my ex-wife. When I was 35, I was living in Naples, Florida. I had $1 million beach condo on both coasts, Naples and Fort Lauderdale. Business that's billing out millions of dollars a year, all the toys, running around with a bunch of single guys who are yacht brokers. I want to find that guy back, that 35-year-old guy with all the swag. And I found him, but I found such a better version.
Yeah, because that guy was living in the outer world.
Yeah, but that guy was selfish. That guy was
He was in the outer world.
Yeah.
He wanted the fast cars,
That guy
money.
was borderline cocky. Now I'm the same guy. I appreciate the finer things in life.
Yeah.
When I go to be a mental health counselor, I want to be the best.
Yeah,
I want to be
sure.
on every
And by the
podcast
way,
I can be
you
on.
still
I want to be
wanna
on the
drive-
Joe Rogan podcast.
You still want to
someday.
drive a nice car.
Yeah,
You
I
still want to
wanna-
have nice
and
things.
Scripture
but
says
that's not.
Scripture talks about money more than any one thing. Jesus, most of his parables were about money because it can corrupt. And I served two masters for the longest time. It was never enough. I came from down in Pekin, Illinois, and came from cornfields. My dad was, blue collar guy, worked hard. He's done very well now, but I grew up, fine dining was, Applebee's. I worked really hard to where, I was going to Ruth's Chris, Capitol Grill, all the fine dining. All my suits were custom made, $2,000-$3,000 suits. All my vehicles were, A8s or Mercedes, 550s, living in $1 million home. It was never enough.
Yep.
A beautiful girlfriend, beautiful wife, beautiful kids. Never enough. And now I don't serve that master anymore.
Yeah.
I serve the Lord, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Am I still super competitive? And that's why I think I've done well in business, because I'm super competitive.
Yeah.
So I'm harder on myself than I am anybody else, because I need to do this, I need to do that. So it's just nice to have, you said it earlier, I feel like I have a blanket of peace. I've never, ever, I said it with Amy, I've never had this healthy of a relationship in my life. I've never had a relationship with a female. And I've got 5 kids from 3 different women. Yeah. Starting when I was right out of high school until when I got married and had my 3 littles. I've never, and I've had many relationships, 6 or 7 that were, in love. I've never had a relationship where we haven't said one foul word to each other.
Yeah.
Where we haven't disrespected each other. I have relationships with my dad and my brother. We're Christian men now. They're so strong. My relationships are just different. I've never felt this peace and joy. Even when I was making my millions, even when I had all the swag, everything on paper, I was always, like you said, it felt like it was fake, or I was running from something, or it was a house of cards, it was going to crumble. I just feel like now that I get to spend the next, hopefully 30 years doing the only thing I know how to do, which is run my mouth and talk, but I don't have to sell somebody a construction service. I get to help them.
Yeah.
I get to talk to them about their problems. And if I can help one person out of the darkness that I was in into the light that I'm in now, that's therapy for me, man.
What's amazing is when you slow down to find peace and joy, everything speeds up.
Everything.
It's really, really interesting. And when you're so sped up to find money and success and material things and outer world things, and you're so sped up, everything is in slow motion. It's really, really strange. It's just when you kind of flip the two and you prioritize properly, and you put slowing down to find peace and joy and to take in all the beauty and to take in all the positive moments and to really listen to people and to think of how you can be a servant to them or a steward to them in some way, shape, or form. When you figure out how you can give instead of how you can get.
Yes.
Like it really is amazing how more opportunity finds you, more solid friendships find you, more love finds you. And you look in the mirror and you start to go, I really like you. Isn't that a beautiful thing when you're now looking in the mirror going, hey man, I really like you. Like you're pretty cool.
I told Amy driving out here today, and I tell her it all the time. I'm like, Amy, I like, God has done so much work in my life now. And, I hear the whispers, but I hear him talking directly to me. And you're right. I like who I am. Mm-hmm. I like who I am. I like that I go out of my way to help people, that I don't, I befriended people before and took them to lunch to get their portfolio, to manage their money.
To get something.
Or to get a construction contract, to get something. Always. Now it's, I want to get to know people. How can I help you?
Yeah.
How can I help you? Of course, when I become a licensed counselor, I'm going to get paid to do that. But dude, if it means making $20,000 less a month to discount my services where I can help more people and still pay my bills.
But you have to live, like we have to live in this world. We don't have to live of this world.
No.
Right? So we're in it the way that it's set up. And I hate to say it, like this is not set up. This is not a world that is set up based on Christian values. Although you could make an argument that most of what is happening that is really positive has some sort of a foundation in that. Although the secular world is trying to pound that away and say that's not the case. But the reality is a lot of what we know to be the common rules or the right way to live life is coming from something biblical. But what's really amazing is when you start to do what you just talked about, when you start to focus on how do I give you something, it's just amazing what ends up happening. The level of abundance that starts to flow your way is just crazy. And how often you hit a flow state, like you find yourself in this massively clear mindset. Like, do you think you would have been able to pass all the exams you needed to and gotten into Northwestern to do what you're about to do 7 years ago when you were a hot mess?
No.
So all of a sudden, the brilliance of how you were wired, the gifts that you actually have had all along, start to come to the surface and you start to shine. It's no secret as to why I put that painting up behind you today. Did you notice that, Zach? I changed the studio. And I changed the studio because I knew this energy was going to be in here. Those wings are in here. This is why I've named my company 444 Media. I see those angel signs all the time. And it's just amazing when you open yourself up and you again, you live of the world, not in the world. And you live for the inner world, not the outer world. I don't even know that I really kind of even I don't even know what I am making at this point. I just know that there's enough to feed everybody. There's enough to just slow down and have a good time. And things are just good. And quite honestly, what's most important to me right now are the relationships that I have with the people I'm surrounded by. And, the fact that there's something else that's interesting about this. As I just looked at the time on that and it went to 11-11-11, or 1-11-11, like 5 in a row. Like, come on. I love it. So, I mean, and by the way, that's like the faith angel. Like, it is. So,
amen.
What's crazy is I didn't think I was going to hear from you, that you were going to reach out and you were going to come in here and so on. And these stories need to be told. There's just so many stories that are just about greed and about, tactics and how to be the best at this or the best at that. And the real stories that need to be told are these stories where people are not perfect. There's real people out there that are hurting really, really bad, that are super talented, that have gone through unbelievably difficult things. And then they find this peace and this joy, and they're willing to talk about it. There's a lot of soldiers out there. There's a lot and warriors out there that are silent about these things, and they've gone through them. I wish they would speak up. It takes a shit ton of courage for you to come and tell your story the way that you are. It takes a lot more courage to ask for help than it does to pull the trigger. And for you to have a gun pointed at your head that many times, and to find that little centimeter of hope to go no, and then to go ask for help, that makes you so much stronger than anyone would give you credit for, especially given the amount of stuff that you've gone through. So there's no secret as to why we're sitting here today. This message needs to be told. Here's the really cool part, though. You're about to turn this into a career. So you're about to face a stage 4 cancer and another surgery. And then when that is successful, and by the grace of God, it will be, you are going to then go do your schooling and tell me about this journey of wanting to be a public speaker and talk to kids and adults at hospitals, and then also this career so you can maybe just help one person at a time every single day.
Yeah. JMO, I feel, after 6 surgeries and at least 2 more queued up, 30 rounds of radiation, chemotherapy, more nights in the hospital than I could count. I feel so blessed. I've never felt sick from the cancer.
Yeah.
There's so many kids who are sick. There's so many people feeling the pain. God's blessed me in so many ways that I get to go be a blessing to others and to go talk to whether it's children or adults like us, or somebody going through divorce, or somebody going through a bad diagnosis of cancer or any kind of health issue, somebody who has turned to the bottle and has substance abuse or with pills or with anything, somebody who lost something, like I lost a very successful business. I don't think that you have to have those experiences to be a good therapist and a counselor.
It does help.
Most of them don't.
Yeah.
Most of them don't. But when I can look somebody in the eye and I can say, dude, at a rehab center, I've been here, bro. Mm-hmm. I've been here not once, twice. I've been here 3 times. Mm-hmm. 3 times. And they can say, well, you look like you got it going on. How did you? I'm glad you asked. Have you ever heard of Jesus Christ? Mm-hmm. Or I can go to hospital beds with little kids and say, hey, I had stage 4 cancer just like you. Well, you look so healthy. You got all your hair. Well, I prayed. I prayed to God, and I said that I know that you're the great physician and you can heal anything. And if you want to heal me, you can heal me. But if not, then I'm ready to come meet you. Mm-hmm. I can talk to dudes who have been through divorces and been like, dude, I've been through the worst one you could ever go through. I just have all these blessings that over the last 3 years, they were my nightmares, but now they're my blessings. And the deep, deep, dark areas I lived in for months and months at a time over the last 3 years, I feel so blessed right now to be sitting here with you.
Yeah.
I've got a great girl. I've got my kids that are coming back into my life. I'm starting a new career. I get to go help people.
And how old are you now?
I'm 40 or 50 years young.
Yeah, I'm 50 years young too.
50.
So literally 50 years old, reinventing yourself.
Reinvented.
How
and
beautiful is that?
I feel great.
Yeah.
And I feel just this peace and true peace and joy.
How confident are you?
True peace and joy. Like I felt like when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Before, when you didn't have stresses of the world.
Yeah.
Where everything was peace and joy. Where you were just out playing.
Where you were living in your
sports.
superconscious.
Yes.
Where you thought that you were.
I
thought you were Superman for real. Like
God,
you really
every
thought
day
you were Superman
for this peace and joy. I
Yeah.
tell Amy it all the time, baby. I'm so happy. I love the life that we have. I love the blessing that we get to be to our children, and the blessing that we get to be to our family, and the blessing that we get to be to total strangers.
So do you think that you're in the clear? Like, and I'm not talking about cancer. I'm talking about the other stuff. Do you think you're in the clear? Like, does that ever stop where you have to stop working on it? Like, What's your opinion on that?
In the clear, as far as like health
Being
and
depression,
everything,
anxiety,
No,
shame, regret.
I think the devil, like I said,
Substance.
when I say the devil, it's the devil. It's the darkness. I think the darkness can creep in at any time. You feel it. For me, I think the quickest way for the darkness to creep in would be booze, because I start making bad decisions.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's relationships too. My relationships that I created 5 gorgeous, amazing kids with were great relationships and a lot of great memories, but they were really unhealthy.
They were stressful.
Too. They were stressful.
Yeah.
And a lot of verbal abuse and a lot of disrespect. I don't have that now. And this is the first time in 50 years I've had a healthy, we'll argue, but nothing, never a disrespect. And we pray. We start our day off with prayer. We end our day with prayer. We pray before meals, whether we're out. We're still fun, We're not, I wouldn't call it Bible thumpers or whatever, but we just put God at the forefront of everything.
You're carrying the light.
Yeah,
it's amazing when you carry the light instead of carrying baggage. It's that light makes you light. The light makes you light, man. You become faster, like you just kind of moving through.
I feel like my 40 time's gone,
dude.
Way down.
You're running to 6 flat now, baby. No, but it's true. Like when you're carrying that baggage around, man, you got a stank on you. It's just in a weight, and it's just you're dragging.
And it comes across as the father you are, the son you are.
Oh gosh, it's
the
in
employee
everything.
You are, the boss you are.
You don't think it is.
No, yeah.
Other people see it, but they might have come to know you as only that, and that's why they're so shocked when they see you years later and you're completely different, because they're like, "Whoa, you look great."
My mom said it just the other day, and I've heard it from several people. I can see your happiness in your smile.
Isn't that crazy?
And in your smile, in your pictures, I can see it.
Hold on, I can see it in your eyes. Yeah. You smile with your eyes now. Which is crazy because there's a light in there. Somebody told me about a year and a half ago. Oh gosh, it was a guy named Ciro who's on LinkedIn, and I had posted a picture. I think it was my 1 year or whatever. And he goes, "It's great to see your soul." Yes. And what he's saying is,
eyes are the gateway to the soul.
What he's saying is 3-4 years ago when I posted pictures or put clips up on social media, and he was seeing me, he was encouraging me, he was loving me, he was supporting me. But he could see that I was dead inside. And then, so it was really interesting that, like, it was, I think at the 1 year, I posted a picture. I was wearing a green jacket and I had my hood on, and I was posting, like, I'm super proud. I can't believe this. This is crazy. What a magical mystery tour I've been on. And his comment was something to the effect of, like, I can see your soul. Yeah. Like, I could see the light in you.
You can.
And isn't that a beautiful thing?
It's such a beautiful thing. And you can go back and you can see the ugliness and the pain looking at old videos and pictures. An old video came up about a month ago, and I showed it to Amy, and it was when I was on my old life. I was married with the kids, and it was a birthday party, and she heard me talking, and she was like, "I don't ever want to hear that voice again." Mm-hmm. You were so different.
Yeah.
I said, "Baby, I was so unhappy then."
Well, that was a demon.
Yeah.
That was a
demon. And I'd been drinking.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was like, "That sounds night
annoying.
And day."
Yes.
I don't ever want to hear that guy.
Yeah. Just 100.
I said, I said, "Well, you'll hear you'll know if that guy's around because I'll be drinking."
That's so my wife just sent me a picture, and she thought it would be funny and cute, but she sent me a picture from actually a company trip that we were on. And the company that was at had a very heavy drinking lifestyle. It was a President's Club trip. So granted, of course, we're going to be having a good old time. And she sent me a picture of me in a pool doing something to make everybody else laugh. And my response to it was just like a thumbs up. She thought that I would respond like, wasn't that great? And so when I saw her that night, I went home. She's like, "Hey, no response to the picture." So the picture was I was in the pool, and we took $2 bills and we put them on my chest. And the post that went out was Daddy Warbucks, right? And I was completely hammered in the pool. So when I got that picture, my reaction was that way because, quite honestly, I remember that. I remember all this stuff. And to the outside, people would be like, "Hell, he's having such a good time." Inside, I was dead. I was dying. Like, I probably, in my mind in that moment, was like, I'm going to make them laugh so I don't cry.
Yes.
Like, I hate what I'm doing right now. I hate that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and probably have to apologize to 7 people for embarrassing myself, saying something rude in front of their wife, just trying to make a joke. 100%. But you know when people look at you now and they say, man, you look so good. Like, you're like, your smile, your eyes. You know what they're seeing? They're not seeing you. They're seeing the light inside of you. That's what it is. Right. That's life. They're seeing the life.
And that's how Amy's only seen that. She's only
Which
known
is why
me
when
since,
she heard that other person, she's like, who's that?
And when I went back to that, JMO, I remember I was on Adderall then. I'd been sneaking drinks. The bar it was a birthday party.
Just completely
because I'd been
selfish.
Arguing with the ex and the family. And I just remembered how I was and how unhappy I was.
Yep.
And you could hear it. You could hear it in my voice.
Self-indulgent.
Yes.
Just over the top, all that stuff. Okay, so what's really interesting is when you find this clarity, you kind of wake up a bit. And I've gone through this as well. And sometimes the clarity helps you see things that maybe you didn't pay attention to before, you ignored, or you just fell in line with whatever the worldly view on that is. And then all of a sudden, when you get that clarity and you start to, really dive into who you are, what you believe, and you really start to dive into the word, you couple that with the fact that you're not out socializing, burning hours and hours and hours of time. So you have more time to do some really interesting things like dig in and do some research on what's really happening in the world. I happen to love history. I happen to love digging into like some of the things that maybe should be obvious and solved, but there's like 9 million perspectives on it. And one of the things that I love about the internet right now is, and that I love about technology, which is rare because I don't love a lot about technology, but one of the things that I do in fact love about technology is everybody is a documentarian now.
Correct.
So, and we don't really need the mass media because the mass media is all coordinated and they all spew the same message over and over and over again to program. It feels like programming. That's why they call it programming, I think, but it feels like programming. It's like, how do you flip on one channel and the folks that are on that side of the party, they all tell one story. And then other channels that are on the other side of the aisle, they all tell that story. Like, how can 8 news outlets, cut them in half, 4 and 4, see the same exact damn thing, but tell the story completely different? And then meanwhile, you'll see somebody who just takes out an iPhone, and that's the truth. And they leave it up to you to actually go, well, yeah, that's what my eyes see. That's the actual truth. The other thing that is amazing is with technology, all of the things that are history, everything has now aligned. You would have to go to the library and do hours and hours of research and pull up book after book after book. Now everything starts to tie together, which means that the whole story of everything that we've been told for hundreds of years is kind of starting to unravel, where things that were in the dark are coming to the light. And we're like, whoa, wait a minute. That's crazy. I know I've been ridiculed and I'll keep being ridiculed for my viewpoint on Artemis and the moon and some of these different things that are happening. So I want to get your perspective, not to be like a conspiracy theorist, but somebody who kind of feels like I'm waking up and I'm starting to see these things. And I got to tell you, I can't unsee them. So I'm happy to hear the other side if you can prove me wrong. But 2020, that whole mess woke me up. By middle of 2020, I was like, this is crazy. This is not right. Like masking our children and like this, okay, so 6 feet is going to slow the curve. Like 6 feet? Like, come on, really? It just, none of it really added up to me. And then, you know, people are persecuted, losing their jobs because they won't take a shot. They're being persecuted and dragged through social media and people are screaming at them and so on. And so some of them had to like fall in line to keep their job. That's just crazy. It's their body. And so then you start to see the science that comes out. Now some of the science that's coming out is going, yeah, pretty much most of what we were told was bullshit. And then you've got people who are like, well, you're just a conspiracy. What if all the conspiracies keep coming true? Are they still conspiracies? Right. So I look at some of these things and I'm like, gosh, I really wish I didn't feel that way. But I went with the company line at first. And then because I had free time, because I wasn't out partying with people, I started digging in and researching, and I started reading, and I started looking into things, and I started to go, wait a minute, that dot doesn't connect. And then there's a ton of influencers out there that are like, pick a topic, and they dive into it forever, and they create amazing content on certain topics. This is a long-winded setup and frame, but I'm getting to a point. You're dealing with cancer, and prior to us starting to record, you talked about the fact that you're going to go some of the natural route. Now, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, somebody would have gone, this guy's the flake. You're going to go the natural route with your life on the line? What kind of a crazy person are you? Every doctor would have thought you were absolutely nuts. Nurses would have told you, what are you thinking? Your mom and dad, your neighbors, they would have been like, Josh, this is absolutely nuts. What are you doing? But you're saying, no, I'm going to go the natural route. Like, where did that come from? You're obviously entrenched in this. This is 3 times, like the first time, then stage 3, then stage 4. So this has become your life. And I would imagine you're reading up on it. You're meeting a lot of people. You're talking to a lot of people. You're probably watching a lot of videos on a lot of stuff. You're hearing from people with it that have gone through it. Like, walk me through why that perspective. And I'm genuinely curious because I know nothing about this.
Yep. So I didn't know anything at all about the cancer community until I got diagnosed a little over 2 years ago, 2 years and a month ago. Never had it in my family, directly or indirectly, just was never around it. I, like you, when all the 2020 stuff came out, it was interesting because I was moving my family from Naples, and we had 3 young children at the time. One of them getting ready to start kindergarten, my oldest, and we were moving from Naples, where we had been for the last 7 years, up to Chicago, up to Hawthorne Woods Country Club. So we leave one state that's letting you go out and do stuff to
go
a
do
state
whatever.
that's totally different.
Yeah.
And I was always, even early on, I was like, man, this only affects people with comorbidities. We shouldn't be affecting all of us. But I bought into it because it was pounded down my throat. Mm-hmm. I was at the time married to a family that had a lot of doctors in it. Those doctors would talk down to me. Mm-hmm. These vaccines are good, and make me feel stupid because I'm not a doctor. What do you know? What do you know? You wouldn't believe how many people have asked me, because my cancer kind of came out of nowhere, so to speak. I mean, I am service connected with the Navy because I was around a lot of stuff, 25 years ago in the Navy, chemicals and stuff. But a lot of people are like, did you get the jab? And I'm like, yeah. Not only jab, I took like 3 or 4 after that. That my family was forcing me basically to take, and forcing my kids to take. I tried to take a hardline stance on it. Like you, I broke down too, and I was like, fine.
I didn't break down.
I did. I wish I wouldn't have, but I truly broke down just because.
I hid. I didn't break down, though.
I only did it because.
By the way, this is the first time I might be admitting that, so hey.
JMO, I only did because of the pressure I was getting in my home.
I understand it. It was intense.
And all my kids had to take it too.
Yeah, intense. And by the way,
so now finding that out,
rude.
Yeah, and now people are saying, well, that jab could have had something to do with the cancer. I don't know. I know this. I know that when I first got diagnosed, there was a Navy doctor that I had befriended when I was in treatment at Bay Pines in St. Pete a couple years ago. He played tennis. I play a lot of tennis. He's like, JT, let me tell you something, dude. He's an oncologist. He's like, you're going to hear so much stuff from people. Do your research. It's your body. They're going to treat this cancer.
Wait a minute, say that again?
It's your body. They're going to, and he told me early on, right from the get-go, they're going to guilt you into doing things, shame you into doing things. Cancer, a lot of times in the community, is treated as a one-size-fits-all. Everybody's body is different. everybody's, like I said, I've been an athlete my whole life. I know my body. I've never been sick. I've taken care of myself for the most part. I fought and fought and fought against the chemo, and they pushed and pushed and pushed on the chemo. I could not believe how hard chemo was pushed. Still is right now. Still is right now. I'm waiting to see if I can do a surgery to have my rectum rebuilt and repaired so I can reverse my ostomy. Went and saw the most sought after rectal surgeon on it. He wrote the book on it. Guy's awesome. He's out in DC. He was with Cleveland Clinic for many years down in Florida, built that up, and then was going to retire, but they offered him a ton of money to build up this system in Baltimore, DC. So I went and saw him. Good news is I'm a candidate for it. He thinks he can rebuild me, but he took a biopsy of a little skin tag and it shows some cancer cells. I just believe in my heart of hearts, it's time to just go the ivermectin, do the fenbendazole, starve this thing out. I've never really taken it serious with my body. I can pretty much get away with eating whatever, still at 50. I stay active and I got pretty good genes, I guess. But with the sugars and all that, I'm going to go the natural route. And I've talked to doctors. I've talked to oncologists that have gotten away. When I asked my oncologist about ivermectin, they kind of smirk and smile, and they're like, there's been no studies on it. They are legally bound. By the pharmaceutical companies. They can only push chemo.
Well, who runs who?
Yeah, exactly.
So do the insurance companies run the pharmaceutical companies? The pharmaceutical companies run the doctor? Like, how does that?
100%.
Is that how that works?
That's how we, again,
because it would seem to me
I've never been I'm not a doctor. I've got friends who are doctors. I've got a good friend in Naples who I played tennis with. He was with the hospitalist, saw how much the hospitals were making from him being a hospitalist, started his own little hospital business, sold it for a ton of cash. And now he's like, I'm not going back into big medicine. I'm starting my own concierge medicine down in Naples where he can do that because people have money. And I'm having a direct relationship with my patients without the insurance companies in it, without big pharma in it, without people telling me what I have to do. Like the olden days when the doctor would come and visit you at your house 100 years ago, when you had a personal relationship and the insurance companies weren't in it, the big pharma wasn't in it.
Okay, so I play golf with a guy. All of a sudden, thyroid or throat cancer of some sort, has to have it removed. Luckily, surgery goes well, but now he's got to start the chemo, okay? So they can't move forward yet because the best is going to cost $130-something thousand after insurance cover. The other is going to be $35, but it's not good enough. This guy wants best. And he essentially says that now his doctor is like struggling and kind of maybe in trouble because he's cooked the numbers a little bit in order to try and get this through. So it's like I'm sitting here listening to this story, and I apologize. I'm paraphrasing what was going on because I was trying to concentrate on making birdies, but because he was taking my money that day. He's really good at golf. And so I'm just thought to myself, like, what kind of a world do we live in where whether or not somebody gets the best treatment is dictated by whether or not they have enough money?
Yes.
And so, like, what the hell are we doing? We're human beings. Doesn't every life matter? So if somebody is making $35,000 a year, doing the best they have with whatever facilities they've been given, their brain power, their education, their circumstance, they're doing the best they can, and that's the living they make, and that's their contribution, and good for them. We need them to contribute that. And they are diagnosed with cancer. It's just okay for them to potentially die because they get the half-rate stuff.
Right.
But the multimillionaire gets the absolute best treatment because they can afford it. I thought the whole idea was to save lives. So now there's a price tag on so my life costs something different than your life, costs something different than Zach's life based on whatever income bracket you're in and what you can handle. I don't understand this. What the hell are we doing?
The one thing I've seen a ton, JMO, is in the 2 years that I've been in the cancer community and being treated, and I've had the 6 surgeries and the chemo, the radiation. I can't count the scans I've had and just hundreds of days in the hospital. There's different levels of care. I'm so blessed that I served this country 25 years ago.
Yeah.
The VA, I would call the VA system, it's the biggest healthcare system in the country, but it's in terms of like quality that you get in the VA hospital, the worst. I kind of joke around and say I wouldn't let a VA surgeon cut me open unless I was dying on a battlefield.
Isn't that crazy? These folks served our country to protect us.
But here's what the VA does that is amazing.
Okay.
They've sent me out from day one. Day one, they've sent me out to what they call community care. And they've sent me to Moffitt Cancer Center. They've sent me to Levine Cancer Center with Atrium Group. You go into Moffitt Cancer Center, bro, it's like the Ritz-Carlton. It is valet parking, chandeliers, crystal chandeliers everywhere. Everybody should get that level of care in cancer, but you don't. And it's all about money.
Or
It's
the
all
question
about big
is
money.
maybe there should be no chandeliers and there should be none of that stuff. It should just be like less of that and more of let's spend more of that money on taking care of. I mean, everyone gets the same treatment.
When I had my surgery and I had the tumor resected in last May, you know, it was a big surgery. It was a 10-hour surgery. So I was in there recovering for 4 or 5 days. It was like the Ritz-Carlton, my room. It was a big private room.
And that's awesome.
And I'm so blessed that I have that. But most people don't have that.
No.
They're in kind of rundown hospitals.
Please don't take me wrong. I find the folks that have become doctors are some of the most brilliant, compassionate, amazing human beings in the world. We need them. They're brilliant. They should be successful. They should live with abundance. I'm not saying that. I also feel that there is, in fact, a need for insurance companies. You never know when the hell something's going to happen, and God bless them for being there to help you bail out. I mean, they save families from a lot of major turmoil. Obviously, the families are paying in, but what does concern me is like, where's the line? Mm-hmm. And it's not the people at this point. It's the system has gotten out of hand, and there are people pulling the strings of those systems. So always follow the money, right? Yeah. That's what they always say.
They say that out in D.C., the lobbyists for healthcare.
That's it.
For healthcare, listen, it's bigger for healthcare. There's more money moving around and people being paid off for drugs to go through and chemo to stay the way it is. There's more in healthcare lobbying than the next 3 combined.
Okay,
like
so
aerospace, defense.
When I'm watching Hulu or Netflix, a commercial comes on for a pharmaceutical company. Last I checked, I can't go buy pharmaceuticals. So why the hell are they spending the most money of any other industry on commercials? As a consumer, I can't buy what they're talking. I have to go to a doctor. The doctor has to then tell me what's wrong with me and then has to prescribe it. I can't just buy it. So why are they doing all the advertising? And the advertising is a bunch of people dancing around with a whole bunch of colors. It's like they're making it like beautiful and wonderful and oh my gosh and so on. And by the way, if you take this drug, you'll be able to paint with your friend Larry, like in a park. Like what the hell is that? And then at the bottom, it's like, hey, your left arm might fall off and you could potentially lose a nut. And if in the case that your whole ass falls off on a trip, we told you about it on this commercial, so you can't sue us.
Yeah.
What is happening? Like, don't we see through this?
It's such a fun, like you said, commercial.
So
where
fun.
Everybody's
They're
talking,
all dancing,
talking slow, and it's something cute. And then the very last 20 seconds is like an auctioneer's voice going through all the stuff.
And it's so beautiful. It's so inclusive, and they're all so colorful. And it's in a park, and they're painting, and they're at like a little parks and crafts little recreation thing, and then there's the guy who comes in who's the manly man, and then there's the super feminine woman, and then there's the gay couple. It's like, hey, we're talking to all of you, and granted, you got to talk to all of you, but we're painting this picture of lollipops and whatever. But
puppy dogs and ice cream.
But also your foot might fall off.
Yeah.
But we warned you, so if you take this drug, you can't sue us.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
I mean, I know when I first got exposed to big money changing hands was in the year 2000 when I first started as a financial advisor in wealth management. You're managing clients' monies, so all these mutual funds, all these annuity companies send their wholesalers over to wine and dine the brokers. They're constantly taking them out. It's changed, but when I was in, it was the wild, wild west, dude. We'd get tickets to sporting events. We'd get, taking our top clients to, $1,000 dinners all the time at Cap Grill, wherever. Same thing in the medical thing. They go on trips for these pharmaceutical companies that are, they're running their products where it's chemo or whatever. There's money in healthcare switching hands for docs to push drugs.
Yep. I think it's such a big system. And again, I'm not saying that any one person, I'm not saying a group of people. I'm saying the system
needs to be cleaned up.
It's out of control.
It needs to be way
It's
cleaned
just
up.
out of control. And I don't know how the hell it happens. I'm not smart enough to do that. But what I do know is that I see through it.
Yep.
I'm hopeful that other people see through it because it seems pretty easy to see through at this point when you really look at what's going on. But I want to thank you for being so open and talking about this. And I want you to give us a little bit of an idea of kind of like what's next. What's the next year look like for you? And then if you don't mind, we'll have a little fun and play Let's Go with JMO.
Let's do it. So the next year, first and foremost is getting healthy and getting cancer-free 100%. Like I said, I did a procedure in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown Hospital last week, and they found some cancer, but I know I'm going to beat it. I'm going to go the all-natural route. I'm going to starve this thing out, be done with it, get my last surgery to repair my rectum, let that heal up for a few months, and then get my ostomy reversed, get all my plumbing back, get my body back to the way it was 2 years ago before it started getting cut up and all these surgeries. Want to go to school, want to get my degree. I don't have to do it, but I want to learn about the clinical side of it more on mental health.
I think it's pretty important to have that.
I think it's very important. I'm so lucky that when I did go to college, I was married and not a football player like my brother because I got straight A's. So I was able to get accepted into Northwestern and NYU and Pepperdine and a bunch of other schools I applied to. So I want to get this degree. You can do it in a year and a half. It's all in full time, so it's going to be a lot of work. But I can get the 3-year degree in a year and a half. And then along the way, I want to start doing more podcasts. I want to start speaking. I want to go to functions. I work with a company in Naples called Cancer Alliance Networks of Southwest Florida, and they're set up to help not the rich Naples cancer patients, but the firemen who can't work,
whose lives are just
who
as
can't
important.
work for 6 months, or the teacher who can't work for 6 months,
whose life is just as important,
and they can't pay their mortgage and they can't pay their insurance.
Yeah.
So this company goes in and we pay the bills for them. No questions asked. Pay their bills. So I'm speaking with them at different events, raising money for cancer families and warriors fighting cancer that don't have the financial means. I'm in the best relationship I've ever been in, like I mentioned. Want to keep moving forward with that. Definitely going to make an honest woman out of her and make her my wife soon. And just enjoy Greenville, South Carolina. I've lived all over the country in 50 years. Most of it down in South Florida, 20 years, but I lived in Dallas for a while. I lived out in Orange County, California for a year. Obviously all across the Midwest I've never lived in a cooler area than the Carolinas. Yeah. Greenville in particular. I mean, I'm an hour away from Asheville. I can go down to the coastline, whether it's Nags Head or Charleston. In 3 hours, I can be up the mountains. So I'm just loving the Carolinas right now. Just loving this relationship I have with my Lord and Savior and the what it's doing to all my relationships in my life with my family and friends, and just getting after it, baby. I mean, I spent 2 years dying. It get busy living or get busy dying. So I'm going to get busy living, and I'm so blessed that I get to help people. I get to help people, and helping one person come out of that darkness and find the light, especially through Jesus Christ, is therapy for me.
It's beautiful.
And I did, I built treasures for 25 years $1 million homes, 6-figure cars. Now I want to build heavenly treasures.
Yeah.
Kingdom building, helping people, doing things, not, so much saving souls, but saving souls if I can.
Why not?
Helping people out.
Yeah. So I posted yesterday that I don't create content for the metrics. I may have in the past, but I don't do it now. And I'm not saying that because the metrics that I get are not viral in any way, shape, or form. I create because it's a form of self-expression. It's turned into a career, of course, but I create because I want to tell stories and I want to deliver inspiring messages. I want to inform people of great people and great things that are happening. And I'd certainly love to influence people to take some sort of an action that might be the right move in their life. But I'm not doing this for likes and comments, although I would love if people would subscribe to our show. I'm doing this more to your point. If one person hears this story and decides to go get some therapy, to go get some help, that's fantastic. If one person hears this story and goes, hey, maybe I need to look into the non-traditional route because the traditional route seems like really difficult or expensive or whatever it might be, that's absolutely worth it. If I inspire one person who's sitting on the sidelines and should be creating content to start up a podcast because they watch this and they go, you know what, that's pretty cool. I think I can do that. Then that's worth it. So I really appreciate you coming on and being so open and candid and telling your story. It's a beautiful story. It's going to have a happy ending. And the best stories, in my opinion, have all those trials and tribulations and adversity. And I think a lot of people could look at us that maybe haven't had those, haven't made the mistakes, haven't felt that depression, haven't abused substances or whatever it might be, and they could make judgment on us. They could certainly do that, and you're free to do that. You could go, oh, you made a bunch of bad decisions, or you were weak, or whatever it might be, and certainly you could do that. I would never do that to you, but certainly you could do that. But the fact is that I really find the people that have gone through journeys like you have and like I have a whole different opinion of what life is. And sometimes in order to really establish that relationship with Jesus the way that you have, you kind of have to tiptoe and dance with the devil a little bit to appreciate how amazing of a dancer Jesus is. I mean, that boy can get down, baby.
Amen.
He can get down. So, I'm really thankful for you to come on and share your spirit.
And I'll end with this. If I had to go through losing a multi-million-dollar business, losing a marriage, losing time with my kids, losing my health, losing my sanity for a while, to have this relationship I have with Jesus Christ, it was all worth it.
That's how I feel.
It's all worth it.
All right, so we're going to play a game. It's called Let's Go with JMO. And so this is the lighthearted part of the show, where hopefully we get some really cool clips out of this, but this is a little bit of fun too, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up, okay?
Let's do it.
So I'm going to start you with kind of an interesting question, because in our conversation prior to even sitting down, I felt like it was relevant to do this, and I wanted to give you a platform to do it. So are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go with JMO. So here we go. Who do you want to forgive? Who is still out there that needs to hear a message that you would like to forgive? Think deep. 2, 3 people, 1 person. Who would you like to forgive if you had a chance?
My youngest children's mother and their family.
Why?
Just the hurt that I felt that I got.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that were done and said.
Okay. That's beautiful. And I got to tell you, I'll ride with you on that. I'd like to forgive, or I'd like to ask for forgiveness from my siblings and my parents for never really reaching out to them and kind of just laying it on the line and letting them know what was really going on. Even though they were supportive after the fact, I feel like I could have leaned on them way earlier. And I'm sorry for not having the guts, if you will, to just be 100% and honest. You know what's amazing is I don't know if there's enough people in my life that know me 100%. And I'd like to fix that with a lot of people. All right, you ready for the next question?
Ready,
I know that one hit you like a ton of bricks, but I think it's important that you get a chance to speak that.
100%.
Okay. All right. So you kept mentioning Pops. You kept mentioning Pops, your Pops, Pekin Pops. All right. So what's the best advice that Pops has given you?
Oh my, he's given me such good advice. The work ethic that he gave, that he showed me all those years. I've never known a work ethic like his. But the biggest piece of advice, especially during the dark season, was lean into your faith, lean in as hard as you can, and ask for forgiveness from God, and have a daily relationship with Jesus Christ, and make him the forefront, at the center. Read scripture, and everything will fall into place. And I'll piggyback on that. When you decide to try to find love again, which I was done with that, I just figured it wasn't going to work. Find a woman who puts God first, who puts God before the relationship, like you.
I love it. Okay, so let's get a little bit crazy, a little bit fun here for a second. You ready? Why has nobody been arrested yet dealing with the Epstein files?
Jeez, that is such a good question. I think because there's on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
And in the entertainment business and outside of it and big business, everybody was in with that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, because you saw the documentaries, what he was doing, especially in Palm Beach, out of his house there with the, 14, 15-year-old girls. I mean, the guy's a monster.
Is he an operative?
Could have. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole prison thing. How
And
he
for
died,
who?
How he died. I mean, he's supposed to be watched 24/7. I mean, come on.
Who's he an operative for, though?
Exactly.
Is it for us?
Yeah.
Is it for maybe another country over? I don't know, but it
all I know
seems
is
like
from what I've...
he's a professional blackmailer.
Yes, a professional blackmailer, and the biggest piece of trash when it comes to, sexual predator out there.
Yeah. Okay, so are there aliens or are they just demons?
Demons. I believe that I believe in what Scripture says, and the Lord and Savior. I believe He's coming back someday. I think that because Scripture talks about when the end times, it'll be mass deception. I think that if a rapture comes back, it's going to be mass deception. We're going to be told it was from
right
demons.
Now.
It was going to be told because there's other life force out there, and it's not.
Okay, so I got to tell you, I was an absolute religious Ancient Aliens watcher. Like, dude, that was the coolest show for me on History Channel. I absolutely loved it. I was full in on it. And then I started reading. I really started digging in, and I started looking at what's actually been written for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And I go, wait a minute, those aren't aliens, those are demons. Those are demons, and they're shape-shifting, and they're deceptive, and sometimes could be fallen angels, all kinds of stuff. Absolutely. I love this stuff. Don't you love this stuff? I don't know enough about it. I'm still new to it, but I'm digging into it. It's so much fun.
Well, they talk about, the Bible. My dad's dad was a Pentecostal pastor all across the Midwest.
Well, they
small
have a
churches,
whole different view.
For 60 years. Yeah. My dad tells me, he's like, son, your grandpa would preach. And this was in the 50s and the 60s when I was a young boy. And I'd be up in the front altars. And he would talk about a time when we have revelations going on and the Antichrist, and you can't buy or sell. And it never made sense to me. How could you could never buy or sell, or you'd have to take the mark of the beast to buy or sell. Now you could with currency. Well, it all makes sense.
They just announced it.
And my dad said one last thing. He said that it never made sense that it talks about in the Bible that people are going to see, everybody's going to see everything,
the dark will come into the light.
Well, everybody will be able to see something happening all at once. Mm-hmm. And how, with phones, you can't do any of that without phones. Phones, you can do all that now. Something could happen and the whole world could see it from their phone. The deception that's going to come with that.
It's crazy. Oh, yeah. The deception's already happening. They've been deceiving us. It's like they've been practicing for years. Exactly. It's all deception. And by the way, the funny thing will be is like I posted something this morning on Instagram, and somebody who I really love, know, and respect commented, I hope this is a joke. And I was like, no, it's not a joke. Like I'm not an expert at this, but I am smart enough to look at what I see and to know what I see. What I will not do any longer is just take the company line that NBC and ABC and CBS just want to drill down our throat. Exactly. I'm not taking the company line of The View. I'm not taking the company line. I'm just not taking it. I'm not taking Trump's press secretary, Biden's press secretary, or any of these folks that come out and talk about this stuff.
Think with your own head.
Think with your own head, because quite honestly, they're just controlling whatever narrative they need so that they can get the next thing done.
And that's what they are. They're all narratives. The media and news used to be the news. Now it's all just opinions.
Yeah.
But guess
Walter
what?
Cronkite used to come on and just give the news.
Whether it's Hannity or someone at it's
doesn't
CNN,
matter. Rachel Maddow or Hannah.
They all go to. They're all making $15, $20 million a year.
By the way, Rachel Maddow is the other side of the pendulum of Hannity.
That's it.
That's all it is. Like they're both just trying to control a group of people, the hard right or the hard left, to just and create chaos, and then we're all pointing fingers.
It reads.
Yeah,
I heard one of my old mentors said, because he would always tell people to chill out in the market. He said that if this type of stuff would have been around when the Edison invented the light bulb, the story would have been the lament of the candle.
Yeah.
They would have talked about the death of the candle instead of the, it's always just, sensationalized.
10,000 tries that guy had on it. What's amazing is how he got it across the finish line.
Exactly.
So let me ask you a question. Who really invented it? Was it Edison or Tesla?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened there? So why is Tesla not an American hero?
I think a lot of ideas were, I won't say stolen, but why reinvent the wheel?
Mm-hmm.
If they both were working at something, and it's, getting it to market too.
Yeah.
It's just like with Zuckerberg and the guys, with Facebook when he was at Harvard. Sometimes it's right place, right time. Sometimes a lot of it's cutthroat.
So what I read was JP Morgan was the one who loaned money, the original JP Morgan,
Yes.
like the original JP Morgan, loaned money to Edison, significant amounts of money, and would not loan it to Tesla. And because of that, whatever strings had to be pulled, Tesla kind of, like the Homer Simpson thing, kind of where, the meme of Homer Simpson just kind of folding back into the bushes, like Tesla just kind of folded back into the bushes, and Edison was the one who was propped up.
I think from what I've read about it, JMO, is the engineering and the research and all the work that really was Nikola Tesla that really.
Also, they didn't believe that they could profit from Tesla, because his thing was, how do I create free energy for everyone, and how in a capitalist society do bankers make any money on something that is free? 100%. Edison's, on the other hand, had to be manufactured. There needed multiple parts. It needed to be distributed. So it created a supply chain of business that would allow the banks to loan money to each part of the supply chain. So naturally, if the banks, kind of run things, they're naturally going to go with the thing that is going to create.
It's like we talked about healthcare, big business, baby.
Yeah.
Once money's in it, money's in it.
All right, let's go. All right, so let's get a little bit different topic here. All right, so favorite comedian of all time?
Oh boy, I'd have to say, just because it was the 80s and 90s, and getting the VCA, and I grew up in a Christian household, so we didn't use foul language. Getting the VCR from a friend, the tape of Eddie Murphy Raw. It had been Eddie Murphy, man.
Eddie Murphy Raw, and Eddie Murphy Dangerous
and Delirious.
Oh my gosh! So my older brother had a tape of the one before Dangerous. And there was a song on the tape. It was the last song. So he went through like his whole routine. But at the very end of the tape, on the B side, was a song called "Boogie in the Butt," and it was Eddie Murphy doing two different characters, and he was like doing this like rap rhyme, and then it was just off the wall. He's like, "Put an alligator in your butt. Put an elevator in your butt."
I know that
if you have this, we have to pull this up, because
Dude,
it is
how
absolutely
he played
hysterical.
all those characters in Coming to America. I still have to watch Coming to America when it comes
insane.
on.
Nutty Professor,
from Sexual Chocolate to
Chocolate
to the
barbershop
guy, the Jewish guy. He's just
absolutely
awesome.
No spoon. Just classic. All right, so I have to agree with you on that. Eddie Murphy is absolutely fantastic. So who would be the best or the number one athlete that you would love to play a round of golf with?
Jordan and Tiger would be right behind.
Holy shit, you better bring some money to gamble on that one, because they're going to be gambling, and there's probably going to be Well, if Tiger's there, apparently there's going to be some
The best golfer, the best golfer, I think, in my opinion, as far as just when he was on his game, and the best athlete.
Yeah, I think Jordan is the best personal brand of all time.
Yes.
Obviously, like completely human form. Just that brand from a commercial standpoint, and just the talent that he has, and just like everything he touches, he's just got it.
Tiger
There's
needs
just
to
something
stop driving. Like he just
okay.
needs to
There's
stop driving.
another thing to talk about. Like, how is it that you could be worth billions of dollars and not have 12
He just
drivers?
likes to drive. And when he was standing on the side, over and talking on his phone,
like, I'm talking to President Trump.
He's jacked. He looks good, man.
He
You
looks
see him
great.
in shorts and stuff.
Yeah,
He's yoked.
But it's unfortunate. These guys get injured and then they get put on pills, and then they have so much
He's got a
money and
pill
so
problem
much
for
power
sure.
that if one doctor won't prescribe them, they can just fire that doctor and get another personal doctor.
Clearly has a pill problem, and that's too bad because I think Tiger's a good dude, man. I think he's
deep
very
down.
misunderstood, but I think deep down he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And he just was so dominant when he.
It was a shame, I got to be honest with you, because he's the same age as us. He's 50. And he was a childhood idol. It's very rare to have an idol that is the same exact age as you. That was really interesting for me, because as I was coming up and playing in junior golf tournaments,
Who
and
else is the
approaching
same as
high
us
school.
too? Jeter.
Derek Jeter? Damn.
No, not Jeter. A-Rod.
A-Rod.
Rodriguez.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh. I'd like to have the combine of their money. But what was really interesting is, like, as I was 14, I'm playing in, like, these junior tournaments, right? Tiger's winning all the national junior tournaments. So when he came on the scene, I mean, it was so anticipated. It was so exciting that he was coming on the scene. And then he absolutely lived up to all of the press and all of the talk. And it was really a shame, this last incident, to kind of feel like Casey at bat, like Casey struck out, man. And it's like, dude, okay, just kind of get your stuff together so that you don't ruin your legacy. Like, his legacy is getting really damaged.
It is.
And it's a shame, because he is the best golfer of all time. To a man, you could say that. But right now,
it cool to golf.
But
He
yes,
made
he
golf
did.
mainstream.
But
and
right
he
now, I'm
changed
starting
the
to go.
game.
Maybe Jack Nicklaus is the guy that you really got to lean
As far
towards,
as holding it all together, absolutely.
and being a fantastic human, and
Yes.
the contributions that he has, and never really getting out of step like that. It's kind of like, I really want to put that label on Tiger, but like,
I think
it's
with Tiger,
tough
it was
to
just
do
the
that.
athleticism that he brought as a young man. And
Never
the way he
seen
would
anything like
swing.
it.
Guys were like, dude, he's just crushing
Dude's
it. 30
hitting 2
yards.
irons out of the fairway
Yeah,
for
he's
from
hitting it so
280.
much farther than us.
Like, it's just unbelievable. Just some of the, there's a clip of him hitting a shot out of a sand trap over a tree with a 4-iron from like 230, and it's just like, it's superhuman.
But see, he's another one too, like us. He's a mental warrior. His dad was not just a retired Army officer. He worked in counterintelligence.
That guy was
espionage. He made Tiger a Jedi mind.
Tiger
effort.
was trained to do that. He
Trained
would
to be a
he would
killer.
have him out there putting, and he would like
Mess with
he would
his
like
head.
mess with him. He'd throw balls, but then the game they were playing was like, he had to make, from all these different spots, they go around like the clock. Like, if you ever did in basketball at the 3-point line, you'd go around the world, right? They would do that thing with putting, and it'd go 4 feet, then you go back to 6 feet, then you go back to 8 feet, then 10, then 12. And he'd have to make all these in a row. And then when he would get close to it, his dad would literally like throw a ball in the way to distract him.
Yeah.
And Tiger would get so upset, and then he would teach him how to control that. So Tiger mentally was just able to
His
handle
dad
anything
knew how
at
to
18.
make him a mental warrior.
100%. Just absolutely unbelievable. All right, final question. What is the most inspirational thing that you've been told or that you could tell us to close out the show? What's on your mind? How would you want people to leave feeling?
I mean, really just back to my faith that if you truly put Christ at the center of your life and everything that you do and all your relationships and, everything for the glory of God, really try to read scripture, really try to just live a life like Jesus did. Mm-hmm. A perfect life for 33 years. He lived a perfect life. And he wasn't, here to be a king. He was here to be a servant. Mm-hmm. If he was here now, he'd be at the bars.
Well, his kingdom isn't here.
He'd be at the rehab places. He'd be with the sick and the suffering. That's what he was, with the sick and the suffering. I would say put God first in everything you do is the best advice I've ever gotten. And it's advice that's changed my life and I've lived a
lot
I feel
of
like
life.
a lot of lives.
Yeah.
And I've done experiences that most really 95% of guys haven't done, will never do. But me putting God first, that simple, has changed my life in such a significant way.
And that's generational advice that worked 50 years ago. It worked 100 years ago. It'll work 300 years from now. God,
Amen.
if we make it that far. And it's really to that point, when you find that, you really do slow down. You find more peace. You find more joy. My final word to you would be, if you can see it, you can be it. So take a moment to really write down what it is that you want out of life. Who do you really want to be? What does your future really look like? Paint that picture. If you can see it in your mind, you can reverse engineer it, and you can become that. JT Thompson, you are the man. It was so great to have you on, and I wish nothing but the best for you. I will be praying for you. I hope that all of your prayers are answered. I hope your relationship with Amy takes off to even a higher level. And I hope that you stay on this amazing track where you can share your joy and your heart and your mind with children, people struggling, people going through tough situations that you've already overcome and conquered, and you can show them the way. Thanks for coming on the JMO Show, brother.
I love you, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm glad that you made the leap, and you're controlling your own destiny, and you're doing great work out there. Keep putting this kind of content out there.
I appreciate it. He said it, so you better subscribe. That is the JMO Show. That is JT Thompson. I am John Morris. We are out. Cheers.